Grand Rising, everyone. It's Monday. We had an eventful weekend full of anger and rage. Today we're going to be talking about wars created through the mind and how we are the co-creators of this reality and everything that happens in it. I want to make it very clear that our minds are transmitters of this world. And I want you to think of it like this. Grand Rising, everybody. I want you to think of a cell phone tower, and I want you to think of your cell phone. Your cell phone transmits signal to the tower and vice versa. Hi, car. So if our cell phones are able to transmit signals, I want you to understand that our brains are something that scientists have still not figured out of how we're able to transmit signal immediately from one end of the earth to the other. I'll give you an example. There's many people, including myself, that have the knowingness of another human being that might be thousands and thousands of miles away. There's been so many times in my life that I'd say, hey, is your stomach bothering you? Hey, is this going on with you? People are like, how do you know that? When you tap into someone else's energy, you feel what they can feel, right? And everybody has the ability to do this, either unknowingly, ignorantly, or just don't know how to tap into these things. But because we can transmit signal in a way more sophisticated way than a cell phone tower, that means that our thoughts have energy. That means that we are more powerful than we could ever understand. That means when worldly things that are happening that are unfavorable in our eyes and in our mind, people dying, people being murdered, the thing that happened in Minnesota, when you have all of these events that are unfolding and you have millions or billions of people all transmitting a similar signal, we all become small projector machines, large as individuals, small projector machines that then project our energy into this reality to allow it to actually be. Grand Rising, fam. I don't know why people request to join. I don't go live with anybody on my Monday mornings. Thank you very much. So, if we are all these millions and billions of small projectors, we are also the people that are co-creating this collective universe. So we say war is created through the mind. Psychological warfare is so strong and so powerful because our human psychology, our consciousness has been studied for thousands and thousands of years. How do we dominate the people? How do we get them to be controlled? They don't have to make anyone afraid with bullets, with bombs. They scare people through human psychology. So when we are feeling helpless and hopeless and sad and having all these feelings of anger and rage because of the things that are happening in our universe, we are also adding to the collective. Now there's a difference between adding to the noise or standing up for what's right. I'll give you an example. Yes, how can we resist that? What can we do to make another timeline with so many people creating chaos? We can do the work that we do here every Monday, and we can help to teach other people the same thing. There are, even though it might seem like there aren't, we have to understand mainstream media is psychological warfare. Anything that is on mainstream news is aiding and abetting in psychological warfare in order to make it seem more powerful. They take a very, let's say, a small incident that might seem catastrophic and they televise it nonstop. That is altering the collective energy, because there are so many people, millions and millions of people that will still watch mainstream news, and you are adding to the collective energy and noise of how to continue to co-create the war timeline. There was a couple videos back I did with this woman, Pam, I don't remember her last name, but she talked about the war timeline. There's so many of us that are talking about this because we were brought in this time and place. We volunteered to come here at this time and place to volunteer this information to people, whether you understand it or you don't. Eventually, if you listen to this enough, it will eventually click and you'll say, oh, okay, I got it. Last week we talked about the 30 days of no storytelling. If you weren't here last week, we talked about 30 days of no storytelling. What does that mean? No storytelling is not talking about politics. That's helping create the reality that you don't want. No storytelling is not talking about your aches and pains every single day. I storytell every day about my neck. Oh, my neck hurts today. I have nerve pain today. No storytelling, biatch, for 30 days. Is that a challenge? You bet your ass it is. It is an absolute challenge, because what is our day filled with if we're not storytelling? If we're not talking about, did you see what happened in here and this, and they're bombing Iran, and storytelling. If you want to have a different timeline for the collective, you have to stop storytelling. Imagine you're in a space where there is 1 million people and you're in that space. The biggest stadium you could think of with 1 million people. Think about how strong the energy is of 1 million people together. And every single person of that million is telling a story about, did you see what they're doing? I can't believe this. And Donald Trump did this. And Joe Biden did that. And this is happening here. And ISIS is taking people. Imagine the collective energy and how powerful that is. It's like when you go to a concert. You feel how powerful the energy is there. And it's good feeling energy, right? Or when people go to concerts when there are rappers or other type of artists that are using very low frequency energy, like what happened at the Travis Scott concert when there was a whole stampede, because they were using the frequencies of 5G and higher to make people go crazy. And they were using the music, they were using the synergy, they were using the frequency of that music to make people feel something. So if you have 1 billion people that are standing there together and all they're talking about is war, and murder, and this and that, and look what's going on here, what do you think is going to happen to that collective space? The same thing that happens when you send hundreds or thousands of monks to one city, which happened in Chicago in the 90s or the 80s, I don't remember when it was. Sent all these monks to meditate on peace. What happened to that space? The crime rate went down. So if you take those examples, and those are on a much smaller scale in one city with a couple of 100 people or 1,000 people, as opposed to millions and billions of people. Every single minute of the day, we are adding to the collective noise for the negative or for the positive. So someone asked, well, how do we change that? You change it by stop storytelling. And the way that the political temperature is, or just the overall temperature on Earth right now, you can't even talk about these things. I did a post yesterday and said, regardless of who's right or wrong, the lack of compassion for loss of life is horrifying. And I was attacked. I can't believe you feel this way. I can't believe your take on this. It's like people have literally lost their shit. People have literally lost their minds. So, when we're adding to the collective noise on a daily basis, think about the things that we post. Like I can't post about these things anymore. And it wasn't something that was politically charged. It wasn't emotionally charged. It was saying like, we need to do better. We can do better than seeing people saying, oh, well, it's her fault that she died. She shouldn't have been there, this and that. Nobody deserves to be shot at point blank range for trying to get away. She wasn't right. She didn't abide by lawful orders. But it doesn't mean that she deserved to die. So, all of this again is storytelling. So if we want to change our own reality, maybe we're not ready to change the collective energy yet. You're like, you know what? I don't even have my house in order, let alone everything else. But that's where it begins. It begins by getting your own house in order first, because your energy matters. If you create a hostile environment in your home and you have children, your children are going to take that hostility into their schooling, into their people that they interact with. You know, kids that have behavioral problems and behavioral problems, let's just say, that comes from somewhere. You are your environment. You are the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around or are closest with. So if we want to do better, and if we understand that all things are created through the mind, we have to think differently. And again, the 30 days of no storytelling is going to be a game changer for you, for me, for all of us. Because you're changing the emotional temperature in your home, in your workplace, in anywhere that you go. If you go to a store and you buy a bunch of groceries, there is no storytelling in your mind that's like, oh, this is so expensive. I can't believe this. I just spent $200 on groceries, and now this, and then this, and then you spiral. That is storytelling. So if you want to change and shift your reality to one that is more harmonious to the outcome that you want, it all starts with your mind. Our consciousness is the most powerful entity on earth. And if you think about, you have it inside of you. What I have inside of me is the most powerful entity on earth. You have to start knowing how to use it. If you don't use your consciousness to your greatest advantage, you will just think that life happens to you instead of life happening through you. The garbage in the air, food, water, medicine, etc. is poisoning people's brains to the point that they literally cannot think properly. We need to detox and clean out our bodies, bring back compassion. All of that, Karen. All of that. But you have to understand, and we do understand this, how circular this timeline is of why our food and water are being poisoned. When I tell you everything goes back to energy, frequency, and vibration, it's not just some woo-woo saying. If they can poison our food, our air, and our water with all toxic heavy metals, why are they choosing specific metals to tax our system? They are choosing toxic heavy metals. Yeah, of course it's going to mess with the organs, right? It's going to mess with the whole harmony of the body. But they are using specific metals that specifically calcify what? Your pineal gland. Because if you don't have intuition, you don't know when you're in danger. You don't know what's good or what's bad. You don't really have free thought because you're not thinking from a sound system that's working properly and generating energy as the way that it's supposed to. So if they send out enough heavy metals in the air, in the food, and the water, plus remove all of the minerals from our food supply and soil, your body cannot function optimally when you don't have the proper nutrition. Now, nutrition, food. But what's more important than nutrition is the minerals. So if they take all the minerals out of the soil, they strip it. If they take minerals out of the food, we're made up of 102 minerals. The average American diet, you get about 8 of those minerals. So what do you think is going to happen as the years go by and you continue to eat slop that's made in a lab, that's not even food, it's just chemical compounds that have no nutritional value, that have no minerals? Your bodily functions are not going to function optimally anymore. But more importantly, like I said, the heavy metals, fluoride is one of the most toxic compounds on earth. Throw it in the water, they need it for their teeth. I mean, how much more insulting can they get to convince a whole industry, the dental industry, that you need fluoride. If swallowed, contact poison control center immediately. They convince an entire industry that you need fluoride in your toothpaste. Fluoride is one of the main components of calcifying your pineal gland. So every day you're scrubbing your teeth with fluoride. I saved somebody's life doing this. Carbo-Veg, the homeopathic remedy. The guy passed out right in front of me. I happen to have Carbo-Veg in my thing. My energy healer was actually there. She said, we need to get it in his mouth and put it between, in his gums. Why? Because that's the fastest way here and under your tongue to get something into your bloodstream. So when you're brushing your teeth every day with fluoride, where's that going, fam? You guessed it. What's closest? What is the main organ that's closest to your gum line? Your brain. Your pineal gland is in there. So if they can get the majority of the population's pineal gland calcified, your intuition ain't working. And if your intuition is not working, you do not know when you're in danger. You do not know when you're being lied to. You do not understand how to read energy. I save the lives. They're on my main feed all the time. So now we can understand why they calcify the pineal gland and why that is so important that war is created through the mind. If you have a population of zombies, you can get them to do whatever you want. It is created through the mind. War is created through the mind. That's why they call it war consciousness. And as long as people don't have the intuitive sense that I'm being bamboozled here on a daily basis, they'll always be able to control what's happening. They'll always be able to manipulate the system, because this system ain't working. I'm reading a book that's telling about all of the secrets of the universe. And it talks about, which I've been talking about for years now, the brain. And how they don't want you to understand how it all works. They don't want you to understand that your brain transmits signals faster than any signal on earth. God is not imperfect. What man has made is imperfect. This consciousness in here can communicate something to someone around the world in less than a second, faster than you can even think. It's like that person is thinking it. If you want the name of the book, send me a DM and I'll tell you. The book is 400 and some pages, and I'm actually on page 193. This is the most I've ever read any book in my life. All these books here, they get the pages, or I open up to a page and I read it. I don't read anything start to finish. This book, I'm reading start to finish. I am taking 2 hours every single day to read and master this book, and then I'll have to read it again. What I've been talking about is the brain and how it's more our consciousness. If they understand how the brain and the mind works, they understand how to control you. That means they control your outcome and your destiny. Do you ever want to give anyone that kind of power that they can control your mind and your destiny? But this is what many people think, is that I'm here and life just happens to me. Oh, did you see what happened here? Wow, it's really terrible. Yeah, they're bombing this country over here. Wow, it's really crazy. It's really getting bad out there. That is a person that has no intuitive processes. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. And it happens through your consciousness. If you don't have control over your consciousness or the awareness of what it even does, life will always happen to you, no matter how hard you work. Well, if I just work more hours, I'll make more money. When the reality is that you can restructure your brain to become your own magic genie to create money out of thin air. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you, and through you is your consciousness. So if you're one of those people that's like, oh, wow, it's really getting so crazy out there and it's violent all the time and, you know, there's so much death and destruction, you are a part of the problem. What you focus on grows, and that includes outside of yourself. Us collectively. Example, we're made of like 70 trillion cells. And I talked about this before. Every single thing that you speak is commanding those 70 trillion cells to send out a signal. That signal then comes back to you in like experiences of the signal that you're sending out. If you are a person that constantly thinks, oh, I'll never be able to find somebody, I always get ghosted. You're telling, that's just an example, you're telling 70 trillion cells that love just doesn't work out for me. So every person that comes to you is going to give you that experience. You're telling 70 trillion little workers in your body, please send out this signal that I'm not worth anyone sticking around for. Okay, great. Got it. Let's go. Get to work, guys. 70 trillion. I can't even conceive of what that number is. So imagine millions or billions of people in the state of mind of war all the time, and fear and anger and division. So they're afraid of two things. One is people figuring out how to actually use their consciousness, and two is unity. Two things. There's not a long list. It is two things. People figuring out how to manifest their reality. And take or leave that word manifestation. People often get triggered by the word manifestation because what don't you get friggin' triggered by? You can use whatever word you want. Attracting to, whatever. Yes, there's a whole universe inside of us. We are the universe. We often think like, oh, the universe is going to bring me. And look where we automatically look up. We are actually the universe. We are our own universe. The sun is following us. I gotta move this way. Oh, there's my Christmas tree. I didn't put it away yet. Okay. Ugh. What was the other comment? What do you think? What do you think? Which timeline will prevail? I mean, there's a lot more people watching news and feeding war and low vibration. Do you think we can stop this because we are outnumbered? This is a question that I will answer. I like to see my plants. The map of consciousness. I'll be right back so I can thoroughly explain this. Okay. I mean, this is the best way to explain this because, okay, this was written by my sister. She's a lot smarter than I am. We are our own universe, yes. Okay, so I always like to give this example. I'm not in the center. Okay, so, map of consciousness. Okay. As long as we are vibrating above 200, we can neutralize negative energies on a much larger scale. So above 200 is the reason and integrity paradigm, right? So above 200 is courage. So courage is the first emotion that we feel that goes above the survival paradigm. Okay? So if we are vibrating above 200, we can neutralize negative energies on a much larger scale. For example, when one calibrates at 300, 300 is willingness. Willingness. So if when one person Say that I am just vibrating at willingness. Okay. They have the ability to transform the negative vibration of 90,000 people. One person. That's crazy. One person at 500. Now this is, and I'll explain this after. 500 is the spiritual paradigm. 500 is one person vibrating at love. And that's not just like, oh, I'm a loving person. Like, it is the embodiment of love in a way that we don't even really understand. So it's not just like, oh, well, if I'm loving, then this. It is a totally different, like I said, embodiment of very specific energy that I don't know if there's any person on planet Earth that is actually there now. Like Neo. Yes, head explosion. So at 500, which is love, one person can transform 750,000 people. It can neutralize the negative energy of 750,000 people. Now, this one is the best. This is at 700. 700 is spiritual enlightenment. And there have only been 5 people that walk this earth that have reached that level. One is who? Yeshua, Jesus Christ. So when you reach the level of 700, you have the power to transmute the negative energy of 70 million people's energy below 200 on the map of consciousness. Below 200 is a survival paradigm, which is shame is the lowest. Shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride. The map of consciousness should be your best friend, which, by the way, my sister and I are writing an ebook on the map of consciousness, and it will be ready within the next 2 weeks. I wrote it, the skeleton, and then she rewrote a lot of it because she's like, your sentences don't make sense. I'm like, okay, well, then you can do whatever you want. So her and I are co-writing a ebook on the map of consciousness, which is going to be super powerful because obviously what I just told you and why. So let's go to a question. Always ground yourself. Always ground yourself on the daily if you can. Meditate and give your spirit guides permission. I can't believe you just said that about the spirit guides. I'll post it in my story. Someone posted like 5 things to ask your spirit guides on a daily basis. Whatever. So we'll talk about that because that's I love that you brought that up, and that just reminded me. And your spirit guides permission, ask them to help you throughout your journey. That's another thing, like most people don't even know anything about spirit guides. Many people do, but a lot of people don't. God, I skip around a lot, and I'm sorry. So let me just, hold on, I'll get back to that. I will get back to that. Where is the person? What do you think the timeline will prevail? So, do you think we can stop this because we are outnumbered? Again, after reading something like that, that's why it is so important to literally start to raise your level of consciousness, because we are in, for the most part, the survival paradigm. In order for us to really help transmute the negative energy, we have to get into the reason and integrity. Reason and integrity starts at courage. So I could say that I'm probably between courage and neutrality. Like, courage is, I stand up for everything and anything I believe in. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of anything. Neutrality is when nothing really, let's see. Neutrality is being in a state, predominant emotional state is trust. View of life is satisfactory. Process is release. So I'm between courage and neutrality. Like, that's really what I can say. Because I'm not in a state of neutrality. I am with many things that I never was in my life, but I'm not in a state of neutrality with a lot of things still. So if you look at it in that way, that it's like, am I like this all of the time? No. So if we think of The next one above neutrality is willingness. Predominant emotional state is optimism. I'm not always in a state of optimism. View of life is hopeful. God view is inspiring. And the process is intention. So maybe we have different times of our day or different times of our life or week that we are any one of these things, but we don't really live there. When you're in a state of acceptance, your predominant emotional state is forgiveness. I ain't there. I like to teach these things because it also helps me to just get these things in my brain, right? To have the understanding to be able to teach it. And also try to embody it at the same time. But am I these things? No. I am days or hours of these things, but I am not the full embodiment of, I'm the full embodiment of courage. I could say that. But neutrality, no, because things still, if you're in a state of neutrality, it's like things don't bother you because you see them from a completely different perspective that doesn't make you choose a side. And it's not because you don't care, but it's because you have a higher level of understanding or a higher level of consciousness that understands the game that is being played. And once you understand the game that is being played, you don't really involve yourself in it anymore. You just rise above it to try and help to continue to neutralize and transmit different energies into the collective. Sometimes I talk really fast and I don't know if people, because sometimes I'm on the phone and my sister's like, stop, you're talking too fast. Like, slow down. So if I'm talking too fast, just let me know. I'm just going to go back and read a few of the comments. Yes, the scale of consciousness, I totally understand now. It's not about number of people who are awakened, but the power of our energy. We can win by raising consciousness. It makes sense. Perfectly said. That's really it. And even if you're not these higher energies all of the time, if you are them some of the time, you are still transmuting negative energy because you're in a higher energy state. Great way to think about it. Makes sense. Oh yeah, I definitely can talk too fast. Sometimes I feel like I'm like the guy that talks about the cars when we were little and he just talks like a million miles a minute. So trying to embody these, and this is why my sister and I are writing the Map of Consciousness ebook, and it's going to be a journal. It's going to be a hard journal, but that's like, her and I are such perfectionists. Like, we have to make it like the best journal you've ever seen in your life. That's going to be really life changing. So for now, it's just going to be an ebook, but it's really important because his book, David Hawkins' book on the Map of Consciousness, I have it up there, and I literally threw the book because it is not an easy read. And my sister has a much better comprehension than I do, but it is not an easy read. So her and I want to write something that is comprehensive for everyone, that you can be like, oh, I get it. Like, that's where I am now. Or I do think a lot like this, so that you have the awareness. If you don't have the awareness of where you live on the Map of Consciousness, or you don't have the awareness of why your life is always hard or why bad things are always happening to you, you can't ever change it. It's like you want to drive to a certain location, but you don't have the directions. So you ain't never going to get there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's going to be fun. So with the Map of Consciousness, or with just the awareness of where your brain is on a daily basis, if you don't know how to get somewhere else, you can't get there. So if you don't have the awareness of where your mind is at all times, or what your I amness is, you can't change and shift your reality. You might do it by luck. This is where the luck word comes in. There is no such thing as luck. There's a such thing as intention. There are some people that do things by luck because they don't know how to actually do it. It just happened to work out. Millionaires and billionaires don't have luck. They have strategy. They have certain ways of thinking. So again, certain people will get lucky because it was just a matter of chance, not a matter of strategy. Okay, let's see. Well, I've already been talking for 35 minutes. Okay. I was supposed to read from this book and I didn't. Okay. I won't get to that part, I don't think. We think and create our own reality. No, that doesn't, no. Sorry, I'm having inner dialogue on the outside. So again, war is created through thoughts. All has to do with our consciousness. It all has to do with the level at which we operate and vibrate from at all times. So when we are interacting with people, say online, you see a post that's like really triggering for you, and you're interacting with people online that you don't know that are probably bots for the most part, you are lowering your caliber, you're lowering your vibration. You are lowering it on the map of consciousness. And if you just constantly keep this with you at all times and read it, and we're going to simplify it because some people might look at this and be like, well, I don't get it. I don't understand. When you are arguing with a person, let's say online, which I did yesterday, and then I was like, this doesn't make me feel good. This is lowering and altering my vibration and energy. And this is making me less productive in my day. When you're operating from a state of pride, your desire to be right. The predominant emotional state for pride is scorn, right? Your view of life is demanding. Your God view is indifferent. And your process is inflation. You're operating from a state of anger. Someone posted something and you're really angry about it, then you start fighting with people in the comment section that you don't even know, that are siphoning your energy, that are probably not even real human beings. Anger, your predominant emotional state is hate. Your view of life is antagonistic. Your God view is vengeful. And your process is aggression. So when you are operating from these states, you're ruining more of the collective energy, and you are bringing it down to the survival paradigm. Even something as insignificant as fighting with someone online. The world now is online. It doesn't have to be in person anymore. You have the ability to start a war with people right from your hand. Isn't that nice? When we were younger, if you wanted to fight with somebody, you would say, meet me at the schoolyard. Meet me at this block. Meet me at this corner. I'm going to knock on your door. Now, to lower your vibration, you don't have to leave your fucking bed. You can do it right from home. You can lower your consciousness right on your couch. You don't have to go anywhere. You can ruin the trajectory of your own life sitting at your kitchen table, eating your food, and fighting with people online. You can do that. You can ruin your momentum. You can ruin your clarity. You can ruin your energy. You can ruin your ability to change planet Earth right from your home. Professional rage baiters to sap your energy and time. So that's how clever these evil bastards are now, that they have bot farms that will actually fight with you. They're not even real people. Why would they do that? Why would they go through so much trouble spending millions and billions of dollars on technology to create fake people that aren't even real to show up online to fight with you? Why? To siphon your energy and lower the collective consciousness. That is it. Because as long as people are at war with each other, war consciousness is able to be projected into the reality of our time and space. That's it. That's really it. What do you think about the book, The Great Awakening, 2012 to 2030? I never read it. So, two things. It depends on what kind of person that you are to read things like this when it's like comes to like future stuff. If you're a person that doesn't understand consciousness and you're reading this and you're like one of those really goofy conspiracy people that all they do is look at life through a negative lens and then everybody's attacking them, that book is going to be really bad. If you are a person that likes to read because you understand consciousness, you understand the blueprint that they are trying to impression upon people's consciousness, it is a good thing. Because if you understand the blueprint of what they're trying to do, you can then help people to do this type of work to keep the collective energy higher than what it be if we weren't teaching this work. So the more people that understand this type of work and raising the level of consciousness, the less that war will be able to be transmitted, literally transmitted into this earth. So that's why it's so important to understand your own consciousness, because that is where war is created. War doesn't start in some rundown country with guns. War starts in your mind. War starts with not having war with other people. War starts with being at war with yourself. If you are at war with yourself, you will be at war with other people. And the majority of people are at war with themselves, which means they are at war with the universe, which is themselves. The universe inside becomes the universe outside, because everything that happens in here happens out there. My horse, it's not a stone, that's a candle. That thing is bigger than my head. It looks small. That is a candle. And I found it at this huge warehouse place that was magnificent. It had so much art, and they had all these rugs, like tons of, I don't even know what the hell kind of rugs they were. And there was a shelf all the way in the corner that like nobody even went near, and there's like a couple things on it. That horse was on that shelf. When I tell you it's like one of the most magnificent things that I've ever seen, I was like, I wonder how much it is. I thought it would be like 200, 300, something like that. There was a price tag on it for $12. $12. It's literally this big. And it's so powerful. Like, that thing is so powerful. So some goofy store gave that masterpiece away. It was actually a place that did, what is it called when you auctions? It was an auction house. So this auction house, they're like, oh yeah, it's been here for a while. It's like, all right, well, it's mine now. So one day you can show us. What do you want me to show you? All the things around here I've gotten from mostly antique places or consignment places that were like from estate sales. So I have a lot of really cool things around here. Yeah. I agree. I think the first step to understand yourself and stop being in war with yourself is to understand how ego works. And that's why the map of consciousness is so important, because it helps you to get away from your ego. Oh, the horse, Sherry, yeah. Estate sales or auction, good places to find things. They're the best. I go as often as possible if I can to estate sales. Yeah, Merritt, you would love that horse. Okay, I'll show it to you. I will show you the horse, okay? I will show you the horse. It's so cool. There's a wick on top. I don't know if you could see it, but it is a really cool piece. I mean, I just have really, that tank is made of bullets. I have a lot of strange things. My father gave me, I don't know if you can see this. My father gave this to me, and there's Leo in there, so I always talk to him every day. And I'll show you this point shoe was made by this incredible artist. I'll just tell you about that really quick. And then you guys already know the Dolomite. She weighs more than I do. I'm like 120 pounds. I kid you not. This is heavier than 120 pounds. And I also got that for a steal. That piece, the Dolomite, her. I got it at an estate sale store, and they're like, oh, that thing's been here for months. I'm like, what idiots left this in here? For months. So I found out that that was a piece made by an African artist. It's on display. There's another piece like that on display in this African gallery in New York. It's dolomite for $5,000. I got it. They were selling it for $400 in the store. And because it was in there for so long, he's like, I'll give it to you for $200. So I got a piece of solid dolomite carved like that by some famous African artist for $200. And it is, another piece is in a gallery for $5,000. Okay, let me answer that question and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so I didn't tell you really quickly about the point shoe. So that point shoe is made by this ballerina in New Zealand. And I had followed her for a really long time because obviously I danced my whole life. And she would make art out of point shoes. So her designs were just unbelievable. And she suffered terribly with an eating disorder. She was in rehab many times, and that was her art. That was her rehabilitation, was painting point shoes. Like, they're worn point shoes worn from other ballerinas. And I followed her from years ago. And she was very sick, and I stayed in touch with her. She's very, very sweet. I honestly, she hasn't posted in a long time, so I don't know if something happened to her or not, but she was very, very sick. And so I went to New Zealand when I was with Fleetwood Mac, and her father, like, I told her, I was like, I'm going to be in New Zealand, like, would you want to come to the show? And I didn't know her, I never met her, I just had known her, like, through her work and stuff, and she's like, I would love to. She's like, can I make point shoes for Christine and Stevie? And I said, absolutely, like, thank you, I would love that. And so she came to the show. I got her backstage. I got her to meet Christine. Her and her father met Christine in her dressing room, and they couldn't have been happier. Like, she was so gracious, and she gave Christine and Stevie a pair of point shoes. Stevie had different ones. I don't remember what colors hers were, but she gave those to Christine. She was like, which ones do you think that Christine would like? And so she gave her the point shoes, and she got to meet her. Stevie Nicks. She gave her, her and her dad met Christine, and I got to meet her. I had never met her. I had followed her for years before that, and never in my life would I think that I would ever meet somebody that lives in New Zealand, because she lives in New Zealand. I was never traveling to New Zealand. Yes. And so after Christine passed, I told my sister, like, I want those point shoes. I want to keep them. So my sister has one and I have one. So it's right there with the ribbon hanging down. And everything in my space, and I talked about this before, is something that is very meaningful or very, powerful. So I don't just hang things in here because I like it. I hang things in here because there is intention behind it, and that means that there is energy and power behind it. So when we're intentional with our space, when we're intentional with our thoughts, that's when our entire reality will shift and change. So if you want to shift and change your reality, like, maybe start to reorganize things in your space. If you don't want to buy new things, maybe move the furniture around, feng shui your place, because it will change the energy. So if you are unable to get a new place or buy a bunch of new things, just reorganize the things that you have, move the energy around, and you'll feel a huge difference. So I hope that was helpful today for our Manifesting Monday, and I'll see you guys this week, Wednesday or Thursday night, for testimonials. And I love my plants. I'm trying really hard to keep them alive, because I use my little plant meter thing that tells you if they're dry or moist or wet, and 2 of them were dry, and I was apologizing to my plants for not giving them water in time. So I'm figuring all that out. But I will repost this. If you want to share it, you can share it. And I will see y'all this week. You have a blessed one too. Thank you. I love you guys. And see you probably on Wednesday.